Eat your stick. Good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday. I promised that I would be here on my Instagram, and today I want to get into my personal experience with having a hysterectomy. So I did keep my ovaries, and we are 10 years later. So I'm giving you kind of a storyline and timeline of what happened. I have my notes down here when I actually discovered that I had an issue, and we're just going to go down the steps and timeline of what happened. So I had my hysterectomy back in 2015, and the reason why I had my hysterectomy was due to fibroids. I didn't know that I had I should have suspected something because I was having really heavy menstrual cycles. I would be like, when my cycle came on, it would not last like the normal, like 7 days, 5 days that some people had. It would sometimes last like 2 weeks. And this happened for about like 2 or 3 years. And my cycle was like really heavy to the point where I had to use like 2 products. I had especially at night, just so I didn't wake up to a mess. And at that time, I was stationed on a ship. So I really didn't want to be embarrassed on the ship. So I would use 2 products every night. I would set my alarm to actually get up and check to see if I had made a mess, because that would have been like the most embarrassing thing ever, to have a mess like that in a space where you share with multiple women, and you just don't want those type of rumors like going around, even though you can't help it. It's like something you can't help. Even when I was at home, I used to be like afraid that I'd wake up, and I've had a few accidents, and that's been going on for a while, but I just never thought to go to the doctor about it. Well, fast forward, in 2015, I was going to get breast implants, and that's a whole nother story. I went from getting a breast reduction to getting implants, and I had to go do my blood work, and they said that I was anemic, and I was just like, anemic, but I didn't put 2 and 2 together, right? I didn't put 2 and 2 together thinking, obviously, I'm anemic because of my heavy menstrual cycles. So they told me that until I got my iron up, they could not perform the implant surgery, the breast implant surgery on me. And I was just like, okay. So I went to Walmart or wherever I went back then. I was like taking multiple iron supplements. I was going to medical every day on base, getting my iron checked just to see like if I got to I forgot whatever number that you had to be to have the surgery, but I'm still not knowing that there's something else going on in my body. So I remember on a weekend, I was going to the gym on base, and I had like a really good workout. I had lifted weights, I had ran, and I was on my cycle. I just made sure I doubled up, wore black on the bottoms every single time that I was on my cycle, right? And I went to work out because I was like, I'm on my cycle, I'm cramping, pop the Midol, we're gonna beat this out, we're still gonna work out. So I come out of the gym, and when I came out of the gym, I like fainted, like I dropped to the ground. Like I didn't completely pass out where there was an ambulance call, but like I kind of like blacked out for a second, and I was like, you know what, something's wrong. I need to like legit go to the doctor. My cramps were starting to hurt more. I just knew something was wrong. So at this point, I'm worried about, I'm like, I gotta reschedule my implants. I'm just thinking about all the wrong stuff. But when I almost fainted, that's when I had like the wake up call that I needed to go see the doctor. So putting the implants behind me, I told them that I'd reschedule. We keep on checking my iron. I went to the doctor, had to wait a week for everything to come back. They did an ultrasound and all of that good stuff. And the doctor calls me back, and he says, well, we have good news and bad news. He says, the good news is what you have can be taken care of. The bad news is we found 5 fibroids on your uterus. They're about the size of, he said golf balls. He said one was the size of a tennis ball. He said, but he's like, the good thing about it is you have 2 options. You can have them removed with the risk of them growing back, or he said you can have a hysterectomy. At this time, I'm in my 30s. I didn't plan on having any more children. My husband and I were not having any more children. And just being in the military, I did not want to go have something removed where I was worried about my career. Like I was just like, no, I'm not gonna have something that can grow back, and I have to risk doing this all over again. I was like, just take it out, just take it out. So I go and I have my pre-op, and what else? I already talked to you about the anemia. And the anemia obviously is because I was losing so much blood due to my menstrual cycle. So I go, they test everything out. They look, they say, you know, your ovaries are really healthy, so you only have to have a partial. So you'll keep your ovaries so we don't push you into menopause. And I was like, okay, great, let's do it. So I go and have the surgery. And after I have the surgery, they gave me 6 weeks off. The 6 weeks was kind of brutal. I would feel like I couldn't lift anything. If you do get a hysterectomy, I know not everyone's blessed enough to have someone that can help them, but if you do have a friend, or you do, because you are going to feel pretty bad. You're not going to be able to. I had a C-section also, so it kind of reminded me like the C-section, but the C-section was so many years ago. It was really hard to compare the two, because with my daughter, the C-section, I was like out, even though I was out here, but like labor and hysterectomy, they're kind of different, but the same. The recovery is pretty much the same. You can't lift over, I think, 5 or 10 pounds, just a lot. You're kind of walking, you're kind of hunched over. You really just can't do too much for that 6 weeks, which was driving me crazy because I really wanted to work out. But I was like, okay, when I start back, I'm just going to start back with walking and everything will just go really slow. So I recovered from that 6 weeks, got back into a routine probably like within 2 months, just not so much heavy lifting, but doing the walking. And walking is actually, I love walking now. I love power walking. My right knee doesn't even really allow me to run too much, but that was great. Obviously the pros of having the hysterectomy was no more menstrual cycles. Like let me tell you, when we used to go, we used to fly from California to Fallon, Nevada, and I used to always be worried about having my cycle. And I was like, I get on a plane now, because that used to be actually give me anxiety. Like it was very traumatic for me to get on a plane if I was having my cycle. I used to my mind was just like going crazy, you know, with the all the algebra going through your head. You're just like trying to plan, you're trying to use the restroom before you get on the plane, not trying to use the restroom while you're on the plane. You just had to really plan when you have these type of heavy cycles. It's just crazy. So that was a plus. And then I didn't have to worry when I was on the ship either. I mean, I was just like, I literally don't have to buy pads or tampons anymore. This is the most amazing feeling ever. So when people would ask me, they'd be like, hey, you know how I'm glad. I'm glad they took it out. Now, fast forward to this year. So that was 10 years ago, right? That I had that. I literally had 0 issues with my hysterectomy. Like obviously there came some weight gain and water retention, but I was pretty active. So I would just like buy over the counter water pills while I worked out, drank a lot of water, because for some people, everyone's body's different, but my body, like I could look at 10 chips and that equates to 40 chips in my body. So it's like, I do have to watch what I eat. And I noticed that my workout regimen was the same, but I didn't maintain or build muscle the same way I did prior to having the hysterectomy. It's like I felt like I was doing the same work, but I wasn't getting the same results, if that makes sense. But also I was also getting older. You know, aging that's a beautiful thing. I mean, not everyone's blessed to do it, so I'm getting older, so I'm like, I'm not gonna complain. You know, I'm getting a little thicker. It's all good. Like, you know, I'm just grateful that I'm here. So fast forward to April of this year, right before Easter. And this is, like I said, 10 years later. So I am out and I'm getting a tattoo. I'm just getting this tattoo right here. And was it this one? Well, how come every time I get on here, I forget what I'm telling you guys? No, I was getting, I don't know, maybe the one on this arm. It doesn't even really matter. But I was getting a tattoo and I was great. We were like the last maybe hour, and I just started feeling really nauseous, really, really nauseous. And my tattoo artist, she was like, "Are you okay? You don't look good." And I was just like, I don't know. I said, I think I'm fine. She's like, are you sure you want me to finish? You can come back. I was like, no, let's just knock it out. You don't even have like that much left. So yeah, so it definitely wasn't this one because this is like 15 minutes. So it was definitely one of the bigger ones. And so, she's like, do you want a Sprite? And I was just like, yeah, let me just get a Sprite. She's like, what'd you eat today? And I was like, really, I just had a protein shake because I was really busy that morning and my appointment was like in the afternoon. It was in the afternoon, well, around 1 o'clock. So I was like, I had a protein shake. I really didn't have time to eat anything. She's like, well, you got to eat. Do you want some chips? And I was just like, yeah, but I couldn't. I opened the bag of chips and I ate like one of the chips and I just couldn't finish it. So as she finishes, like, I'm feeling bad. I should have called my husband, but I'm so hard-headed. I'm always like, girl, you need to figure it out yourself. You need to be, and he doesn't make me feel that way. I'm just like that. That's my personality. So I live about 20 minutes away from where I was at. And so I get in the car. I'm like doubled over getting in the car. I know this is not safe, but I was like driving home. And I was just like holding my stomach every time. I felt like I was hitting every single street light, I'm like, come on, like, let me get to the highway so I can hurry up and get off of my exit. I get home and I tell my husband, I was like, I really, really do not feel good. Like something is wrong. And he's thinking I just have cramps. So he's like, did you eat anything today? And I'm like, no. He's like, you need to eat something. So I was just like, I don't have an appetite. Like, I don't have an appetite. I can't eat. He's like, no, that's probably what's wrong. So he's like, please just go in there and like get something to eat, like eat anything. So by this time it's like it's getting kind of late. And I go in the kitchen and I see some club crackers and I take out like 4 of them and I bite half of it. And then all of a sudden, like, I just felt super nauseous. Like I just started belching and belching and belching and belching. And it just felt like, I don't know, like everything was like up here was just circulating. It was a really gross feeling. Excuse me. So I didn't want to bother my husband. So I was like, just go to sleep. I'll just tough this out. So I went and got in my closet. I went in the room and I got in my closet and I'm rocking because I can't lay still. Like I can't lie still anywhere. Like when I was in the bed, like I kept going like this. And then I get on the floor and I get back here and I get on the bed. And I think he just thought that I don't know what he thought. I don't know what we thought, but I didn't want to bother him. I was just like, go to sleep. I was telling Gigi to go to sleep. And I went into my closet. And when I went in my closet, I was in there. I can't even tell you how long I was in there because I'm so freaking hard-headed. I was going from the closet to the bathroom, like feeling like I needed to vomit, but couldn't vomit. And then back and forth. I don't know. But by the time I was like on the floor thinking that like, this is it, I was like, I am about to die. I'm like on the floor, I'm praying. Like, I'm like, Lord, please, like, this is not the way I want to go. I'm thinking about my daughter. I'm thinking about my grandson. I'm thinking about all of my family. I'm like, I don't want, this is like, I can't go out like this. Like, this is just not, this can't be what you have planned for me. And I promise you, like, I heard a voice in my head, just like, Stacy, get up now. Like, get up now. Obviously it's not a voice that my husband, I just heard that. I felt this instant shake. And I jumped to my feet and I told my husband, I need to go to the emergency room now. Like, I need to go right now. So I get to the emergency room. I'm rocking back and forth, like, this really sweet guy's at the desk. Is it 1 o'clock in the morning? It's around 1 o'clock in the morning, I think, by this time. And he's like, what's wrong? And I'm like trying to explain to him what's wrong. And he's like, okay, just have a seat. And they get me a wheelchair and all that stuff. And then I'm in the wheelchair and I can't even sit in the wheelchair. The wheelchair was like, it wasn't even comfortable. I just dropped down to my knees and I was like, please, I just need help. Like, and I was the only person in the urgent care because it's right down the street from like less than a mile from my house. And so they're like, someone's coming to get you right now. So I remember going back there. They're like, we're just gonna do some tests. they put me on morphine to calm me, because I was just like, I can't take this pain. This is crazy. I can't take this pain. They put me on morphine, and they say, we're gonna take you back. And they did some type of ultrasound, like, was it ultrasound, like a CAT scan of my abdomen area. And so now the morphine's kicked in, and I'm totally calm. I'm calm now, and I'm like, okay, this feels good. I feel great. It's amazing. Let me just get my meds, whatever they're gonna give me, and I'll be on my way. So the doctor comes in, and he's like, hey, we just got the results back from your CT scan, and you have a small bowel obstruction. And I was like, okay. I was like, all right, so what do I need to do? He's like, well, we're about to transport you to the main hospital. I said, like today? I said that like tonight, today? I said, I can't stay here. He's like, no, we can't treat that there. At that time, I didn't know what a small bowel obstruction was. I had no idea what it was. And I feel like, and the reason why I'm making this video is because I kind of think that they should tell you that this is a risk when you have a hysterectomy, even though you might still need to get the hysterectomy, but I'll get into that later. So I have no idea what a small bowel obstruction is. And he was just like, there's some loops and he's still not really explaining it to me. Like, he's just like, there's some loops in your small intestine, and we found some loops and everything, you need to be transported. So I was just like, well, when can I go home? And this was the part where this part was so traumatic. So they were like, well, right now we need to put an NG tube. I didn't even write that in my notes. I don't even know how I could forget that. An NG tube in your nose. And I was like, a what? They were like, an NG tube. So I was just like, okay. She's like, it's going to be very, very uncomfortable. This was the nurse. She's like, it's going to be very, I try to be honest with people right away, but she's like, I'm going to give you some water to sip. I'm going to talk you through it. And as I talk you through it, you're just going to swallow the water and let me put the tube down your nose. So this is when I knew something was wrong. She comes back in and she starts opening it, and it's like, if you've not seen the NG tube, stop this video and Google it. It's like a tube, and it goes around like probably like this, and it's a whole tube that goes around in a circle, and this is supposed to go all the way down to your stomach, like all the way down to your stomach. But I look at it, and I'm not afraid of shots. I'm not afraid of injection. I'm not afraid of like a lot of stuff, and I wasn't afraid of that. So I was just like, okay, you told me to breathe. I got to sip water. Let's do this. So she starts opening it, and she like pulls it out. She starts measuring it to my nose, and then she looks at it. She's like, I think I got you the wrong one. This is the one for a child. And this one was already like thick. This one was, to me, I was just like, so wait, you're about to go grab one that's bigger in circumference and put it down my nose. She's like, yeah, this is the wrong one. So I was like, deep breath, Stacy, girl, you got this. You can do this. So, but I felt uneasy because I'm like, girl, how you bring the wrong one? Like, now it makes me not comfortable that she's comfortable putting this. I was already hyped for this, and now you got me a little bit nervous, right? So she comes back with the bigger one. I breathe through tattoos, I breathe through yoga, I breathe through anxiety. I got breathing down pat. So she starts, she gives me the water, she starts putting it up my nose. I knew something was wrong right away because I could feel it scraping the bridge of my nose. And then all of a sudden, all this blood started gushing out. And I just started screaming. I was like, take it out, take it out, take it out, take it out, take it out. She's like, you're doing good, you're doing good. And I think we had a long ways to go. I think only this much had been down my nose. And she had already, I could tell, put it in the wrong way. And I was like, take it out. And so the doctor, she comes in and he's like, I heard there's a problem with the NG tube. I was like, oh, yeah, I'm not doing it. And he's like, well, this process is probably going to take longer if you don't get it. And he's like, we're already arranging for the transport. I was like, that's fine. I was like, I was just like, it's in God's hands now. I'm not doing this. So she comes back in, she apologizes, and it's fine. She's like, I totally get why. She's like, it is a horrible, horrible feeling. So Um, let's move past the NG tube. I said no to that, and I slept off and on, and finally the two guys from the ambulance, the EMTs, came to get me, which they were hilarious. They made me laugh the whole time. They came and got me, and they were cracking jokes, and like we were stuck in traffic. I could barely, like, I was so tired, like I could see like it was daylight by this time, but they were like, "You want to do something fun?" And they were like, "Yeah, we're gonna cut through this traffic." He cut them sirens on, and all of a sudden, like, I was still high off the morphine. So I do remember telling him, I was like, "This is fun." I was like, "I didn't know you guys, this is what you guys do." We're just cracking jokes back and forth. And I get to the hospital. I get checked in. And so the first doctor comes and sees me. I have all kind of doctors coming to see me. They're bringing the CAT scan machine into me, and like I don't have to leave the room. They're bringing it and like technology's gotten so crazy. So the one doctor comes into me and breaks down what's going on. She's like, "Have you used the bathroom yet?" I was like, "No, I haven't had to use the bathroom, but I've been burping a lot. I've been belching, I've been whatever." She's like, "Have you been passing gas?" And I was like, "No, I haven't. Couldn't tell you the last time I passed gas and I couldn't think the last time I had used the bath, like number two either." So she was just like, "Okay, well, I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't even expect to come in here and see you in this condition. Everything in your stomach is backed up." That's why I was belching, because I had the loops and I had the adhesions, and this is from the scar tissue of the hysterectomy from 10 years ago. Because I had the adhesions, and basically my small intestine, like things couldn't pass to get to my large intestine. So anything I was consuming it's sitting up here and then just sitting and sitting and sitting. And that's what was making me have that feeling of wanting to belch and making me feel nauseated. I had nothing passing through. So because I wouldn't take the NG tube was supposed to go and suck all that stuff out. But because I would not accept the NG tube, they basically told me that I had to sit there until everything passed and I wasn't allowed to eat or drink. So they had me on IVs. And they had me on medication. And I'm an insomniac. So I was in the hospital for like 4 or 5 days. The first 2 days I was just like awake. Every time the nurse would come in, she'd be like, "Girl, you're like still awake." And I was just like, I take medicine for insomnia. I was like, "Can you please ask the doctor if they can put something in my IV, because I'm extremely tired. Like I need to get some rest." And she's like, "Okay, let me ask the doctor." She's like, "We normally don't want to do that, but let me see if we can get something put in your IV." So they went through my medical history and saw like everything that I take. And I've had insomnia for years. I literally will be up for days if I don't take my medication, which I found out is one of the symptoms of menopause. But I had that before. Like I had that before. I've had it for a while. So I finally get the medicine. It goes in, and I'm out for a few hours, because they were every so many hours they had to come check my blood levels and my sugar level, because my sugar was dropping because I hadn't had any food. So then they had to give me, it had dropped so low, it could only, there was a number range, don't quite remember what the range was, and mine was just getting lower and lower and lower. And then by this time it was getting to the lower end where it was going to go past the healthy low spectrum, that they had to bring sugar water in a bag in my IV and pretty much feed me sugar through that. So by day 4, it's the same routine every morning. Have you used the bathroom yet? Are you hungry? Because I couldn't even drink water. Right? So we know you're hungry. Are you sure you don't want the NG tube? And I just kept praying. I was just like, I was traumatized. My parents are FaceTiming me. My parents are FaceTiming my daughter to tell my husband to make me get it. My daughter's calling me to pressure me to get it. My husband's trying to pressure me to get it. My parents are trying to pressure me to get it. And I was just like, you guys do not know. And I'm not by any means like a wimp, but that was probably one of the most traumatic things ever. Like I said, I'm going to sit here until something happens, until something happens. So By day 4, they did another CAT scan, and my stomach's like whatever with the air and all that had started like going down more and more and more and more and more. Like it had slowly decreased. And by the end of the day, it had pushed down to where um, they felt safe enough for me to sip a little bit of water. I could only have bone broth, and that's what I started off with. So bone broth, water, bone broth, water. Finally, I used the restroom like a teeny bit. It was a small but big victory for me, right? So I used the restroom a teeny bit, and then they gradually incorporated Jello. They gave me a Sprite, told me to sip it, don't drink anything too. Was it Sprite? It was some carbonated drink, but I was able to sip it, and I finally like passed gas. That was the most, amazing. I was like, thank you, Jesus, thank you, Jesus, thank you, Jesus. I passed gas. I mean, I was good to go by then. All right, so they finally released me. I think it was like day 5, and they sent me home with this like strict diet. So I was scared to eat. I didn't want to eat nothing. So my follow-up was probably like, I got released, was it Easter Sunday? I got released on Easter Sunday. And then my follow-up was like 5 days later. So I went to the GYN, or not GYN, gastro. I went to gastro, and she basically told me that if I wasn't having any complications, I needed to start eating, like, because I would only touch broth. Like every day I was just eating chicken broth or beef broth. And I did end up getting some Jello, and I would only eat like half of that because I was scared to eat because of that pain. I couldn't go back to the hospital. So she told me, and then I had been using the bathroom like gradually. So she told me to start taking Miralax, and then the other thing is Citrusel. So you can get that at Target, Amazon, whatever. And I get the Target Miralax because the other ones, like, I don't know, like $8 more or $6 more, and they both do the same thing. So I just get the generic brand. And so I started taking that stuff daily, and then I started becoming more regular again. Let's see what else. Okay, so that was my story about the hysterectomy and how it affected me 10 years later. So please know that these things called adhesions, I've known people who, after doing research and telling people what happened, I started hearing more and more stories about the adhesions from scar tissue. And there's some people who have been in the hospital multiple times for it after having not just a hysterectomy, any abdominal surgery that can cause this. So I've only had it that one time, and I take Miralax every day, and I take Citrusel like a couple times a week just to keep myself regular, not to put me back. So menopause. I do think I am in menopause right now. I don't know if I am. I after going on Google last night, I think I want to go get my hormone levels checked just to be safe, because I feel like after I had that experience, I started having heat flashes. And when I tell you heat flashes and night sweats, you always hear about it. You always hear about that older lady that get the heat flashes, got her fan in church, going like this, doing whatever. And you just know it's a part of life. You're like, oh, she's older. She's doing, well, girl, this is me. Cause but I thought that they were exaggerating. Heat flashes are no joke. I could be anywhere, and all of a sudden, like from my scalp to my skin will just start feeling clammy, and I'll start getting hot. Like my husband's used to it now because my fan goes on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off, my ceiling fans. I am always hot, like sweaty, or really, really cold now. And I never had that before, ever. Like I never had a heat flash. I didn't know what it was. The night sweats are pretty bad. Like I've heard of some people that like soaking their mattress. Mine are not that bad, but they're bad enough to wake me up to where I am kicking the covers off of me. And I started experiencing that since April. So that's pushing me. I already have a doctor's appointment this week just for other stuff. So I'm going to ask my PCM to send me to GYN just so I could get my hormone levels checked to see if I am in menopause or going through perimenopause, or it's just to see if there's something that I can take for these heat flashes, because they are a beast. They really are a beast, and I need to do something. So I think that's everything. Yeah, I think that's everything that I had to tell you guys about this. If you have any questions, please comment below, and I will definitely respond to you guys. But if you're not going through menopause or having a hysterectomy that can push you into menopause, or if you're contemplating having a hysterectomy or you've had adhesions, if anything in this video helped you, that's why I sat down and did this, because these are just things that I researched after the fact, and nothing happened to me till 10 years later. And everything was just like one after the other. So I just wanted to share my experience with you, and I'm happy I got to sit down with you guys on this Sunday. I'm going to try to do Sundays from here on out. If I miss a Sunday, it will be the following Sunday. But thank you so much if you're still here watching. And yeah, just leave any questions below, and I hope you enjoyed my story. Have a good Sunday. Bye-bye.